Hey there. Today, we're going to tear apart a framework that could completely change how you study. Seriously, we're going to shift your focus away from the clock and onto what actually matters, real, measurable progress. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You put in the hours, 3, 4, maybe even 5, glued to your desk. But when you finally stand up, you don't feel any smarter at all. It's like you've just been spinning your wheels, right? Well, that frustration is incredibly common, and it all boils down to one single flawed idea. And we call this the illusion of progress. It's this belief that just because you've spent a bunch of time studying, you must have made progress. But look, time is just a container. It's what you put inside that time that actually creates results. Measuring your work by the hour is probably one of the biggest traps in learning effectively. And this brings us to the most crucial mindset shift of all. We have to stop saying, I will study for 2 hours, and we need to start saying, I will solve 20 practice problems. The first one, that's just a measure of your input. The second one, that's a measure of your output. It's the difference between simple endurance and real achievement. And that single change, well, it's the foundation for this entire method. Okay, so if time isn't our metric anymore, what is? Well, the very first principle is to focus on the bullseye. It's all about prioritizing for maximum impact by choosing the right tasks before you even get started. And here's how you do it. You have to constantly ask yourself this one simple question. What is the one thing I can do right now that will make everything else easier or maybe even unnecessary? See, this isn't about making a huge to-do list. It's about finding that single critical domino that's going to knock over all the others. You know, it's really the difference between being busy and being effective. You could throw 100 arrows all over the place and just hope one of them hits the target. Or you could take your time, aim carefully, and land one perfect bullseye. That single focused shot is worth way more than all those scattered attempts combined. Now check this out, because this is how it plays out in the real world. You've got student 1 who puts in 5 whole hours just passively reading, and what happens? They get a low score. But then you have student 2 who spends just 1 hour on high-impact active practice, and their score skyrockets. It's not about the time, you see. It's all about the intensity and the focus of the action you take. This whole idea forces us to face a classic principle, the difference between what's truly important and what's just urgent. Urgent tasks, they're loud, they scream for your attention, and they make you feel productive. But the important tasks, they're the quiet ones that actually build your long-term skill and understanding. Here's a perfect example for you. Rereading your notes feels easy, it feels productive, so it feels urgent. You feel like you're getting something done. But what about actively practicing real exam-level problems? That's harder. It might feel uncomfortable, but that is what's truly important. That's the stuff that builds the skill that actually gets you the results. Okay, so you've identified your bullseye task, but what if that task feels huge? You know, something intimidating like master corporate finance. That is where our next principle comes in. It's all about learning to turn those big, scary goals into tiny, concrete actions. The key here actually comes from the getting things done method. It teaches us to get rid of vague goals. A task like study equity, that's useless. Your brain doesn't know where to start, and that just leads to procrastination. The solution, define the absolute next physical action you can possibly take. Think about it like this. You don't just build a wall. That's overwhelming. No, you lay one single brick perfectly. Then you lay another one and another one. Each brick is a tiny, manageable action. And by focusing only on that next brick, you end up building something massive without ever feeling overwhelmed. And look at this fantastic practical example. Prepare ethics is a totally vague goal. But when you break it down into 1, read the case, 2, highlight the key judgment, and 3, write the decision note, suddenly it's not so scary anymore, is it? It becomes a clear, step-by-step recipe for making progress. So now that you have your tiny action, you need to execute it with intense, unbroken focus. And this is the whole concept of deep work. It's about creating these sacred, distraction-free blocks of time where your only goal is to produce a high-quality outcome, not just to look busy. I absolutely love this analogy because it perfectly captures how our attention works. When our focus is scattered across our phones, emails, and a dozen browser tabs, it's weak. It's like a flashlight. But when you concentrate that same energy with singular intensity, it becomes a laser beam, powerful enough to cut right through the most difficult problem. So here's your cheat sheet for a real deep work session. Set a timer for 90 minutes. Your phone, it goes in another room. Notifications off, extra tabs closed, and you commit to finishing just one of those concrete next actions we talked about. This is where the real progress is forged. So we've chosen the right task and we're executing it with focus. The final piece of this puzzle is all about building and sustaining your motivation, and we do that by tracking what truly matters. The psychology behind this is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Nothing is more motivating than actually seeing your own progress. When you can look back and see tangible proof that your effort is paying off, it creates this powerful desire to just keep on going. So I want you to throw out your timesheet. This right here is your new dashboard. At the end of each day, instead of logging hours, you're going to log your wins. How many new concepts did you really, truly master? How many tough questions did you solve? What mistakes did you correct? This is a log of achievement, not just endurance. And the best part is you can automate this entire process by building a habit. Every single habit follows this simple loop. There's a cue that triggers the behavior, then there's the action or the routine itself, and then, crucially, there's a reward that tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do that again. This whole process is just like a giant, heavy flywheel. That first push is incredibly difficult. It takes so much effort. But each time you complete that habit loop, you give it another little push, and then another. And pretty soon, the momentum starts to build on its own until it becomes this unstoppable force in your study routine. Okay, let's bring this all together with one single guiding rule. If you forget everything else we talked about today, just let this one thing be your new compass. Here it is. If nothing measurable improved today, studying didn't create progress. This is your daily litmus test. It's not about feeling tired or feeling like you worked hard. It's about having a concrete, measurable improvement that you can actually point to at the end of the day. And so we end right back where we started. This isn't just some theoretical explainer. This is a call to action. So I'll ask you directly, looking at your studies right now, in this moment, what is the single most important task you can do that will create real, measurable progress? Now go do that.